Parag Thakkar with us in the studio this morning, head fund manager at Fort Capital. So is Kush Bora, founder kushbora.com. It's a day for smiles, gentlemen. It's a strong Monday that we're looking at. Yeah, I'm going to start with Parag Bhai's take on NBFC, since we just had that piece from Vishwanath. And, you know, we've been discussing in the studio that is the up move now done with what we saw post-policy or more to go?
So, as we have been speaking so many times, right, I was very bullish on rate sensitives, luckily. And Aditya Birla Capital, Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv, we spoke about Piramal in the past.
It's not luck, it's all skill.
So, it's a good, I would say, and RBI has hit the ball out of the park, completely, I would say completely. I think nobody could have imagined 100 bps CRR cut also. Even banks were not thinking like that because there was enough liquidity in the system. It was a demand side problem, that people were not borrowing because people were on the back foot based on various geopolitical things and this Trump tariff things and all that. So now RBI has done what it has done. You know, it has to ignite the animal spirits of even retail, consumer and private sector also. So I feel that yes, the prices have moved. For example, AB Capital we discussed at 170 in your show and now it is 233. So there will be some consolidation. Definitely, it cannot keep going up. But the major surprise came for banks, actually. Because, for example, I was always telling you that I was cautious on banks because in June I expected margins to compress. Now, margins are going to compress in June because this 100 bps CRR cut is not going to change anything for banks in June quarter. Yeah. But as SBI chairman has also said that Q4, you will see recovery in margins. And next year, you will recover all the margins because you will do deposit rate cuts also now because there is too much of liquidity in the system. So, I am not, today for example, we are seeing Bank of Baroda and other PSU banks cutting MCLR rates, lending rates. You will see cut in deposit rates also very soon.
How much of an impact for the banks will be from treasury ops? Because generally when you see a sharp reduction.
That is also very good. Now, that is why we saw a very big rally in PSU banks. So, because and that also we spoke last time, right?
Because you're talking about between 20 and 24% of their book, which is in SLR.
So 6.8 to 6.2 bond yield. So that is good for PSU banks also. So I'm saying is, what I'm saying is that NBFCs, one move has happened, second move can happen and then can consolidate. But I think the major surprise has come for banks.
So you're constructive banks right now,
Parag? Yeah, so basically.
Private PSU both?
Yeah, both. And for banks which have fixed rate lending, for example, I was just, so for example, City Union Bank, Paul, if you hear, they are talking about 14% loan book growth and 27% of the loans, this is gold loans, and they have made it fixed rate.
Okay.
Right. So now at 1.2 times FY27 at 10 P of FY27, and of course stock is at 52-week high. But the point is the fundamentals are improving.
What would you say buy right now? What is on your buy list right now?
So if HDFC Bank falls due to this, this issue, see, I have worked with HDFC Bank, okay, for 4 years. And to be specific with Sashi sir only, okay. So these people like Sashi, Jagdishan, like Naren sir of ICICI Pru, these are impeccable. Let people say whatever they want. I maintain my view by my own experience with working with them. These are great guys. So don't doubt them. If people doubt it, it's a great opportunity to buy. Thumping the table buy.
Okay. When you say thumping, we want to hear the thump. Okay, thumping the table buy from Parag. But I don't know if we're going to get a chance on a dip on HDFC Bank. I seriously doubt it. But Kush, what about on the indices?
First up, success is skill meeting luck, right? I mean, he only mentioned the luck part. So, Parag bhai, thoda credit to aap bilkul le sakte hain.
It is all luck.
But I am actually wondering where are all the coffee cups here, the Starbucks coffee cups, like the bloopers that happened in GOT. And someone saying that Tamanna doesn't pay up her end of the bet, right, when she loses. So,
but I'm the one who won, and I'm still waiting for my coffee.
I was hoping we'll each have one. So
Neeraj is going to Swiggy in the break.
Yeah. We're around 2 cups of coffee next policy when Lakshmi R is here, because I made Lakshmi R also place the bet.
You could start with yours. She'll come. She'll join in. Great. So as far as the indices go, I think there are couple of times in the market when inaction is a good strategy. One when the markets are crashing, and the other when the markets are zooming ahead, right? Right now, we're getting into that second phase. almost everything that you can think of, except for maybe President Trump. Other than that, globally, domestically, all the stars are aligned for a significantly higher move. These are times when, even if you just stay put with your long positions, be it in the stocks or indices, you might actually benefit more rather than book profit, keep jumping. So right now, if you look at it on a weekly basis, while Nifty's crossed 20,000, but the 25,100, 115 mark is the more critical one, which the Nifty has to cross. The gap up suggests that, we might be there or maybe close to that level. But if 25,250 is taken out, then you're looking at 25,500. Timing could, is always difficult to predict, but at least we're headed in that direction is what the sense is. Banking, 6 weeks of consolidation, 56,000 taken out. Now the momentum continues, and the next levels to watch are 57,500 and 59,000. My only concern is that the two big ones, HDFC and ICICI, are at critical resistance levels, and we've seen them pull back even on Friday from some critical levels. So while again here the trend is intact, the momentum is starting to pick up. It could be a gradual one. PSU Bank starting to see some profit booking is again not a healthy sign. So all in all, the view is bullish. Stay invested. But it could happen that you might find resistance at slightly higher levels, on more of a speed breaker rather than a roadblock.
Okay. What about individual stocks? And there are quite a few, and we just discussed the financial space. So, what are your picks today?
So I'll have to start with home first, because that was the one that was being discussed not only on a daily basis. Even if you see the weekly move, it's been a very, very exciting one. 2 weeks of gains on this one. Volumes have also seen a decent uptick. So from a positional standpoint, 695, 715 are your target. 655 is where you place the stop loss. The other one is IMFA, Indian Metals. This one also has given a breakout after a good 10 to 12 weeks of consolidation. Very big up move. Volumes have practically more than doubled of the last 20-week average. So the targets on this one, 442, 460, 410 is your stop loss.
Okay. So those are a couple of things to keep an eye out for. Let's move on. I mean, we've spoken so much about banks and NBFCs, but deservedly so. The other thing that we spoke about briefly, right, when we discussed our stocks, and whether cement companies face the heat in West Bengal. A JM Financial note suggests that the West Bengal incentives for cement companies are at risk because the state government has revoked the West Bengal Incentive Schemes Act. The Act retrospectively annuls all grants sanctioned under various state incentive schemes, and therefore Adani Group, Dalmia Bharat, Birla Corp, Nuvoco Vistas, all of them likely could be impacted. And of course, the affected companies are likely to explore the legal recourse. Now, Parag, you've been constructive cement. This, though, is not, yes, it is a cement issue for here and now, but for a state to do this is a big deal, right? I mean, does this therefore sour the mood on cement companies operating there, maybe on some of the railway companies which have set up shop out there? Does it sour the mood on West Bengal headquartered or focused companies?
I completely agree with that, but I would say that, see, this 160 rupee levy which came in Tamil Nadu on limestone, okay, or this kind of things will further encourage cement companies to be price disciplined and profit focused and cash flow focused. So it might dip today, but I continue with my optimistic view on cement like Remco Cement and Ultratex of the world, because I am not actually, and see, in last time also we discussed that 10 days of unseasonal or I would say early onset of monsoon will spoil the mood for cement players. Yeah, it can. But the overall broad theme which I want to play is the overall pricing discipline, urge to earn higher profits and higher cash flows, to put up plants through internal accruals, to reduce debt. I think that pricing discipline I am playing. So all the speed breakers which will come in between are great buying opportunities to accumulate cement stocks, especially right now as we speak. I am most bullish on Ultratech and Remco.
Did you see that acquisition very quickly, the JK Cement acquisition, small one?
Yeah.
Is it material?
It is not material because it is just giving them entry into Jammu and Kashmir, which is, and it is as 150 crores.
Right.
Anything in cement that you like on the charts, Kush?
Couple of stocks. Ramco is once again knocking at those 1,000 levels, 1,000 odd levels where it's seen resistance, but could consolidate. Bias is positive, so you could hold on to this one or maybe even enter afresh. But because the momentum is a little sideways and the stock is hitting that resistance zone, probably some wait, some patience would be required. But 985 being your stop loss, on the way up 1025, 1045 are the levels to look at. The other one that has been consolidating for a very long time, but with the positive bias, is Orient Cement. Here too, we are starting to see some signs of breakout where the stock has conquered the 20 and the 50-day moving average. So on the way up, 370 and 395 are good levels to look at, and support comes in at 345. So good risk-reward ratio on this one.
Okay. The other, I think, set of stocks to keep an eye out on are paint stocks because of this news that has come late Friday night. Aditya Birla Group has filed an antitrust case against Asian Paints, and the Competition Commission of India will deepen its probe against the paint giants. Shrimik joining in with all details.
Yes, the Antitrust Watchdog Competition Commission of India is all set to launch a detailed probe into Asian Paint over its alleged anti-competitive practices. The move follows the preliminary inquiry which was launched by CCI following the Aditya Birla Group paint firm Birla Opus has filed a confidential complaint with the CCI in November 2024. Now, during the preliminary inquiry, CCI has sought Asian Paint response on the several allegations made by Birla Opus in its detailed complaint, and after reviewing that, it's come to a conclusion that this, warrant a detailed probe. Now, sources tells us that Birla Opus has actually alleged that how Asian Paint is misusing its dominant position. It cited certain data which says that around 53% of the market share is captured by Asian Paint with, around 1.6 lakh retail touch point plus 74,000 plus dealer. Now, allegation also involved that how Asian Paints kind of pressurize its dealer to not, showcase its rival product. It says that it restricted access to certain important machine like tinting machine, which is very important for customizing the paint in this business. So the sources says that these kind of allegation actually trigger a certain violation under competition law, which includes unfair pricing, the unfair business conduct as well as the market dominance. Now, CCI will refer this case soon to DG investigation, which will take around 4 to 6 months of time to pass a final order in the matter.
All right, thanks so much, Shrimi, for getting us those details. Now, a lot of our viewers in Kerala, as well as all of the other South states, will have no problem pronouncing Virinyam. I wonder if my co-anchors have that ability, and we will test that in just a bit. But the reason why we're talking about Virinyam, of course, is the visuals that you see on the screen right now. The MSC Irina, which is the world's largest container ship, docking or berthing at the Virinyam port in Kerala, and this is actually a momentous occasion, not just for Indian ports but also for trade in India. It means that Indian infrastructure is capable of handling vessels of this size, and of course the MSC Irina is built to carry a very large amount of load. Its capacity is as much as 24,346 TEUs, and it is in fact a very, very large container ship.
One space which is going to be in focus undoubtedly is going to be banks, the whole BFSI space after the RBI bonanza that we saw on Friday. Ashok Chandra, MD and CEO of Punjab National Bank, with us to speak more on this. Mr. Chandra, thank you so much for your time with us here at NDTV Profit. Pleasure to speak with you as always.
Thank you.
It's definitely a double bonanza in that sense. The CRR cut as well as a 50 basis points, because everyone was penciling in a 25 basis points. Tell me, what kind of a tailwind does this give you?
The cut in the repo rate by 50 basis point, and already earlier in the two slots, a 25 basis point cut had already happened. So I think with this cut, 100 basis point cut has happened in the last 4.5 months. I think definitely that will trigger the credit growth, and especially the RAM growth will be very, very fast. Corporate book also, in fact, if I can talk about our bank, we had 1,35,000 crore of sanction book, including the last year's sanction and this year's sanction, which we have done. And the offtake was not happening. Definitely with this rate cut, I am very sure that corporate also will come forward, and they will they will take the benefit of this rate cut. So I am very bullish that with this RBI very, very calibrated move, definitely the credit growth will happen in the system.
From a PNB perspective, Mr. Chandra, what are you seeing as the impact on margins going forward? Because, you know, very quickly we will see rates getting cut and then maybe deposit lending rates first and then maybe deposit rates coming in. Will you be announcing a rate cut on the lending side? What is the kind of lag that you see and what is the margin outlook?
See, this 50 basis rate cut we have already passed on and it is effective from today.
Okay.
We have already announced also. So all my repo linked rates will be reduced by 50 basis point from effective from today. And earlier also the 50 basis point cut which had already happened, that also we have already passed it to the customers now. Yes, you are very right that in the short run and especially for the Q1 and Q2, if I can just guess, definitely there is going to be some impact on the NIM. And I'm expecting that we have calculated that around 3 to 4%, 3 to 5% impact will be there on the NIM. But I'm very hopeful that the deposit rate also, we are going to have the ALCO meeting and then we will decide about the deposit rate cut for all the segments going forward. And the another bonanza with the RBI had given that 100 basis cut in the CRR, and that will effective from the September onwards. That also will bring some liquidity in the system. And we all know that whatever the money that was parked in the RBI by way of CRR, absolutely we were not getting any interest on that. So RBI has done a very good move that one way they have cut the repo rate and at the same time they have given the cushion to all the banks to make out some income out of the release which will happen out of the CRR cut. So I'm also expecting that from September onwards, in the 4 slots, the CRR cut will happen. And expecting that around finally after the 4 cut, 15,000 crore of the amount will be released in our bank.
Right.
And that amount definitely we are going to deploy and we will make some money out of that.
Got it.
So I'm expecting that from Q3, Q4 onwards, definitely the NIM shrink which will happen in the Q1 and Q2, we will be able to make good of that loss which will happen in this Q1 and Q2.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chandra, for that clarification and good morning to you. Alex is here. This is Alex here. So I just want to understand, you spoke about the increase in lending potentially on the corporate side as well. I just want to understand to what extent are you going to grow in line with the market or with the banking industry as a whole? Where do you see that on the back of this adjustment in the policy that we've seen?
See, if you see our last year performance also in the credit, we had grown by 13.6% in the credit. And yes, I think with this rate cut, I'm expecting that definitely at least 1 to 2% growth will happen in the credit offtake. Definitely the RAM sector and our push is also there on the RAM. So RAM, we will be growing at a faster speed. And definitely the corporate book also, which had shown the last year growth of around 10 to 11%, at least 1 to 2% growth should happen in the corporate loan book also in this financial year.
Sir, on the retail book, I'm just wondering between MCLR and EBLR, what is the split for your bank right now? And is there migration taking place?
See, as on today, we have 42% of our loan book under the repo linked, RLLR we call it. And remaining is under the MCLR and the base rate and all. So around 50% is linked with the MCLR. And with the deposit rate cut, definitely we will be reducing our MCLR loan book also.
Okay. But you anticipate that that will take more time, maybe 3 or 4 months, and to that extent, NIM protection will be there?
No, I think since the rate cut has already happened, 100 basis point has happened if I take the 4.5 months repo rate cut. So around 10 basis cut, we have already done the MCLR reduction. And with the ALCO meeting going to take place, I think we will take a view on the MCLR front also. And I think very soon that also will be announced by our bank.
Okay. Just want to check, sir, because we still have a considerable amount in SLR as well. And here we're talking about long-dated securities. And of course, I understand that a lot of that is hold to maturity, but there will be some benefit from treasury operations. Have you anticipated what the benefit will be in the first quarter, sir?
Yeah, if I can talk about my bank, I think definitely we are going to take a lot of benefits out of that because our CD ratio is around 71%. So we had book and a lot of good book under the treasury in the month of March. And definitely with the lower interest rate scenario, if you have a strong treasury book, definitely the treasury is going to support in a very, very bigger way in the operating profit. And I'm very bullish about that also.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking with us. Ashok Chandra, MD and CEO of Punjab National Bank there on, what is going to be the impact of these rate cuts, and credit growth is something that we will see booming quite well. But I want to focus on a few early movers that we can spot. Kalpataru, one of them, they've got projects worth about 3,800 odd crores. That stock in focus this morning. I also want to pull up Suzlon, big block over there. Promoters are trimming stake, but we've seen with the last few blocks that promoters trimming stake is not necessarily a negative thing, even if there is enough stock getting offloaded, because it gets picked up very, very quickly. Afcons is the other one that is moving this morning. They have a 700 crore letter of acceptance which they have inked. So in a Dahej project, so that's about 4% up as well. But on to the big brokerage call of the day. MOSL has initiated coverage with a buy on time. Technoplast, what stands out is the upside they've marked, over 40% on the current market price. Mahima joining in to tell us what?
Right, so as you rightly mentioned, they've initiated coverage with a buy rating and a target price of 578, which is almost a 41% upside from its Friday's closing. What they're saying is that right now they've got the right metrics and this is the right time to make an entry. According to them, strong growth prospects are visible and improving return ratios have also been observed, and it is trading at an attractive valuation. They're optimistic about value-added products, industrial packaging business for Time Technoplast. They expect revenue, EBITDA, PAT compounded growth. So for revenue, they're penciling in a growth of 15%, EBITDA 16%, and PAT growth of 23% over FY25 to 28. What they're saying is that asset monetization, business restructuring, and cost reduction are a big positive, and that is something that will augur growth for the company. Lastly, improved operational efficiency will strengthen the balance sheet going ahead, and their estimated pre-tax return on capital employed will expand to around 16 to 17% in FY26. So these are the reasons as to why they've initiated coverage on Time Technoplast and what makes them bullish.
Okay, thanks so much, Mahima, for that. Parag bhai, I'm sure that you've looked at the company, you've studied it as well. I don't know if you own it, 9,300 odd crore company, and I had spotted it in the fourth quarter because the numbers were particularly good. What do you make of it?
So basically, I would have to admit that I have missed this opportunity. I had looked at it very seriously and somehow was not able to meet the management, and so I missed it, but continues to be a good stock, doing all right things in right space, serving to chemical industries and all, and 24 times trailing earnings, I think, and ROC, which is 16-17%, reducing debt, or doing all right things. So I would say, I would agree with Motilal's view on this. It's a good, decent small cap company which is doing all right things.
Okay. Well, decent small cap company doing all the right things. Good to know that. Okay, and now that the pre-open rates have settled, Kush Bora, we'll get your top call in a few minutes from now. But if I had to pin you down for one NBFC call for the morning, now that the pre-open rates are out, which one would that be?
LTF, L&T Finance. Very big moves in the last two sessions. Today also it's crossed that 190 threshold that it has been finding resistance at for some time now in the past. So once that is in the clear, I think 200, 210 become the next almost obvious targets. The resistance zone, slightly lower levels of 180, 182, they now act as your support zones or stop loss if you're initiating a fresh position. So good moves, momentum likely to continue. LTF on radar.
And by the way, viewers, I think it's the bank Nifty propelling the large caps higher. Maybe, just maybe, the broader markets on start might be a bit quiet relative to the large caps. So, I mean, in terms of gainers and losers on the Nifty 500, Zentek at the end of the pre-open session is the top loser with 2.3% kind of a cut. So nothing too dramatic. So bear that in mind. Also, I think some real estate names are actually starting off a bit quiet today. So very sharp rally, maybe a bit of a pause, remains to be seen. So keep that in mind as well.
47 Nifty 50 stocks currently gaining. So
Yeah,
it
so
looks like it's
large caps are doing very well. I wonder if the broader markets have a bit of an issue here this morning. But Parag bhai, from amongst stocks, I know Tamanna pointed out Suzlon. I don't know if we spoke about it with you, but if we haven't, would love to just talk about it with you very quickly. Demand for paper, but 13% promoter holding in their selling stake.
Yeah, so basically, as I told you, in my earlier interviews also, that solar and wind and all these are out of my circle of competence.
No, but just
I will tell you one more thing about NBFC now, which is my favorite topic. Okay,
shifted from cement to NBFCs. I like that.
For the day.
So basically, I told you that all NBFCs has rallied, but on Friday you got a very good opportunity to buy Bajaj Finserv, which we did, and with a disclaimer, I am saying I acted on it, so now I can say it now. Because this was a 51% stake in Bajaj Finance, okay? Cost of funds have peaked out, credit cost might peak out. They have, why the promoters have sold stake is to acquire stake in their Bajaj life insurance and general insurance from Alliance, right? So while generally we would see promoters selling as a negative, but here it is for a purpose.
No, but I want to extend that point, and I know you're talking largely about NBFCs and Bajaj Finserv, but in the context of Suzlon, we saw that with ZF Commercial as well, a whole host of promoter stake sales. Now, I think it would be difficult to see all of them either as all bad or all good. But right now, there seems to be such a huge appetite that it's all flying.
Yeah. See, I'll tell you, Indian market is also now becoming like US market, institutionalized market, right? Many promoters will sell because they might not have expected such rally. For example, I was not expecting 100 bps CRR cut, right? Even the banks were not expecting, but then bazooka happened. So I am saying that there is a lot of liquidity in domestic institutions. There is a lot of liquidity awaiting from foreign institutional investors to come in the market. If the promoter, if you would have asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have said that just sell everything when promoters are selling. But now the market has changed, the scenario has changed, the liquidity positions have changed, the compulsions have changed, right? Now imagine a promoter is selling a stake in his own company. If he is not leveraged at his promoter entity level, like some of the promoters are, but if they are not leveraged and they are going to again put money in stock market only.
Yeah.
They are going to invest in mutual funds, which will again circle back to stock markets only.
Okay, so the view on promoter selling has changed. Kush, as we've ended the pre-open session, a view of anything that you're picking up right now or liking right now?
So NBFCs, I think we've discussed plenty of. I think we'll perhaps pick a different sector. Jindal Stainless, this was a call that we had on Friday. The stock did very well on Friday as well, continuing that momentum into trade today as well. So I'll keep that on my radar. 675, 680, good support zones on the way up. You're looking at 730, even 755 as the next resistance levels. So Jindal Stainless, the entire metal pack a little choppy, but this one's had a very good up move.
Kush, a word on PCBL. You had given a call on it. It's not quite moved. Should one cut the position or stay long?
No, continue holding on to this because it's had a good run. The resistance is around the 200 mark. So, some consolidation is par for the course. You're right. I had a call on this. I will still continue holding on to this one with a stop loss around the 400 mark or maybe just under. But once this resistance of 425, 420, 425 is taken out, you will see the stock zoom as it has done in the past.
Kush, very quickly, 10 seconds. People long on NBFC, say particular Bajaj Finance, right? Take money off the table. It's given a sharp rally.
Trading bet, then yes, take money off the table, yeah.
Okay, so if you have a trading bet, Kush Bora says that maybe it might be wise to take some money off the table. But remember, fundamentally, this is a great period for NBFCs and banks. So BFSI, rightly so, the bank Nifty is trading at life highs now. And today too will start off well. 0.75% higher for the bank Nifty. Mind you, this is not global. Yes, the globe is supporting, but this has got to do with our own Reserve Bank of India. And this rally seems to be a part of that. Good moves for IT. You could attribute that to maybe the global moves. Mid caps 0.65% actually outperforming. 0.73%. I stand corrected. I thought the large caps will do well. Mid caps may not. Actually, the mid caps are doing well. Bank Nifty scales new highs as well, which is actually very, very positive. Let's get the heat map up on the screen and show you what's moving and what's not. NBFCs all through and through. Shriram Finance 2.43%. Axis Bank, IndusInd Bank, Bajaj Finance, Kotak Bank, Jio Fin, Reliance chips in as well, maybe because of its stake in Geofin as opposed to Reliance itself, who knows. Then there is an Infi and an ONGC, but it's essentially financials right up there, and Shriram Finance is hitting it out of the park. Serious moves there on that stock, and any given day. Today is no different, leading by quite a mile really compared to the next best movers, which is IndusInd Bank and then Axis Bank. So, you know, I think Parag Thakkar was talking about it, that banks will not have a bad time. In fact, banks are also putting their weight behind. What's not doing well? SBI Life, Eternal, to an extent JSW Steel, Titan, but very small moves. So as I hand it over to Tamanna, I think the one thing to take home is that banks are doing splendidly well, but the leader, Shriram Finance, is charting a course of its own.
Yep. NBFC is in focus. Infosys also not bad. We told you about the huge tax relief that they have got. So Infosys also in focus. The Nifty looking quite well set this morning, but we should look at what's happening with the broader indices as well before we get to the sectoral heat map. And you will see about 0.5% up on the mid-cap 150. That's not half bad. Pretty good morning and in line with everything we're seeing. We're not seeing a second day of runaway gains, I would say, but we're definitely seeing the up move continuing. Small cap 250, nearly 0.75% up right now. Let's pull up the sectoral heat map for you and talk a bit about you know, what's happening there. Full green screen. Now, isn't that a great sight for a Monday morning? Complete green screen. Nifty Realty not holding up after what we've seen on Friday, but not half bad. FMCG at the bottom there, it's PSU banks and the Nifty small cap 250 zooming now. I don't know if you can get an intraday chart, but a sharp up move in the last couple of minutes in the Nifty small cap 250. If you get an intraday move on that, but PSU banks, private banks, it's time for the big boys to come out and play. Nifty auto as well as an interest rate sensitive, doing very well. Well, there you have it on the Nifty small cap 250. Nearly 1% up right now. The Bank Nifty is also at a record high once again. Let's pull up the intraday for that as well. There's no stopping the banking index right now. Bank Nifty up there. I want to pull up the VIX just to give you a sense of how the morning is panning out to be. At this very early hour, India VIX about 3% down at a you know, very steady rate over there. Okay, let's look at specifics because a lot of news. Kalpataru projects in focus this morning, and Kalpataru projects we're looking at because they've bagged quite a few orders, in fact worth 3,789 crores. That's about 5.5% up. GRSE, Garden Reach, was on my watch list as well this morning, has bagged multiple packs. That stock about 2% up. Suzlon, promoters have trimmed stake. We have been debating in the studio whether promoter stake sale, which is technically should be a downer because there is so much supply coming into the market, now gets lapped up because of the kind of interest we've seen in promoter stake sales last few days. That's about 1.5% up in early trade. Afcons is the other one that was on our watch list this morning. They've got LOAs worth 700 crores. That's stock about 3% up right now. Rate sensitives overall we should look at. Let's look at a Capri, a Hyundai Motors, a Muthoot, a Prestige. Capri Global about 8% up. Hyundai Motors also 5.5% up. It's the autos that are really zooming today. Muthoot, and we're going to be talking to Muthoot in a bit, about 2% up, and Prestige. They're pairing of real estate stocks not really holding on to their gains. MGL was the other stock that we were tracking. There's a positive view from Citi. That stock about 2.5% up this morning. So quite a few movers, I would say, but the star is the Bank Nifty.
It is, Tamanna, but glad you pointed out Hyundai because that one is doing so well. Just wanted to mark two other things before we get to our experts again. One is exchanges, and MCX is up, IEX is up, but MCX, because of that electricity futures, I reckon, is probably one reason why that stock is in the green. IEX too, about 3.44% higher, so really strong show. And Eternal and Swiggy, or Zomato and Swiggy, are down because apparently Rapido, which is the ride-hailing app, has finalized online food delivery partnerships, cost and terms with restaurants at nearly half the commissions from Swiggy and Zomato, challenging the duopoly as per a newspaper report. I reckon that is the reason why both Swiggy and Eternal are down in trade, so bear that in mind. But quick opening thoughts, Kush, from you. A lot of stocks flying around. Anything that stands out, a call on the Bank Nifty maybe, which is, well, 0.5%, nothing dramatic.
So let's start with the indices. I mean, good opening, but you're seeing some profit taking already. So anyone who's had a position for the last week or so, maybe a little longer, would actually be looking at taking some money off the table, and quite rightly so. The 25,116 mark that we spoke of, that's been breached but not being held on to. So I will hold this position on the indices with a trailing stop loss. That is how I'm going to approach the markets now, because we're at the cusp of that breakout. If it comes and you're looking at a spurt of another 200 to 300 points on the Nifty, maybe about 1,000 points on the bank Nifty, but if it doesn't, then you will at best consolidate and move sideways, because there aren't too many negatives just yet. As far as stocks go, couple of names that pop up on my radar and happen to be from the railway space: Railtel and IRFC. Between the two, at the moment, IRFC seems to be doing better, above the 200-day moving average, also above the Friday high as well. Good momentum going forward. I think 151, 155 are good levels on the upside to track. The 200-day moving average support near 143, that should act as your support or your stop loss. So railway pack also starting to do well. Some profit taking is par for the course for NBFCs, for the realty stocks, and I wouldn't be too perturbed if even if they close a little mildly on a day like today.
I just want to see some of the other big movers at this point, and what comes to mind is the kind of lack of enthusiasm we're seeing in real estate stocks. And could be some profit booking, healthy profit booking, which is concerned. But any opportunities there that you see? And I'm going to start with you, Parag bhai, to build more positions. Because right now in this market, even for our viewers, I don't know how much sense it makes to talk about everything that's rising. People are looking for opportunities to buy.
So basically, I'll say it this way, that in the anticipation of this rate cut, we in our PMS portfolios built up a good position in Oberoi Realty, Arcade Developers, as we discussed last time also, even before RBI policy. And we are also of the view that we have got 25-30% rally in a month's time. Some profits can be booked, but I feel that some pockets can be seen also. That we'll see now what to buy. And just purely coming on the rate sensitives. For example, immediately after the rate cut, we bought Hyundai also, just as because we thought that the stock is still below at IPO price. Although the triggers are in next year, they are going to launch next year, and there is no short-term trigger, and they are losing market share. But the stock is available at 5-6% cash flow yield with net cash balance sheet, and Hyundai has got a good pulse of, reasonably good pulse of Indian consumer. So they can do well if the rates are cut and their Pune plant starts in Q3 and the new models come in next year. So I would say that, see, sometimes you have to buy something which has not moved because there is no short-term trigger. So Hyundai was a perfect example was that. Oberoi was a perfect example of that at 1620, when there was no short-term trigger as such.
Hyundai, what, getting out of positions right now with a 5.5-6% move today? I don't know if either of you have a view on Hyundai right now.
So Hyundai, I have in my PMS portfolio.
But
and I bought as soon as.
Would it be worth booking profit right now with a 5% up move?
No. I would like to hold it. I would like to hold it. I would like to see their models, and now 5%, 6% cash flow yield company which is debt-free, net cash balance sheet with good proven consumer, I would say, pulse. I would say that I'll hold on because there is no hurry to sell in such, because the first time it is, I think, I'm not sure, but you have to check, but I think first time it is crossing above IPO price.
IPO price, that's true. We can actually pull that up very quickly on how Hyundai is responding versus the IPO price, because the IPO response was a disappointment.
Yeah, because again there was a promoter selling overhang, 27,000 crore promoter selling.
You had the global
maybe
partner.
you can pull up the YTD chart, if you will, or the 1-year chart, because that will show the listing price that happened in or around the issue price itself. And yes, this would show that it's clearly now crossing. It's at all-time highs in its short listed history.
And this is all due to RBI policy. Rate sensitives come back in full swing, right? Because you are going to see the, on one hand, banking
it's still not hit its issue price yet.
Oh, okay.
At 1960.
So it is very close. So it might see some selling over there again. And plus, as I say, there is no short-term trigger in Hyundai. So it is just a value buy at that price which I bought because of the RBI rate cut.
Sure.
Luckily today it is up 5%. It's okay. I was not expecting this.
Today is the day of luck for Parag by HDFC Bank. I want to see what's happening with HDFC Bank. We spoke about it in the morning. Hit all of the headlines because of that statement from It's from a trust of a prominent Mumbai hospital accusing the top brass of misdoing, etc. It started very strong and then petered off. We talked earlier in the show that if there is any kind of dip in HDFC Bank, it's an opportunity to buy. Are you seeing that opportunity right now, Kush?
So I'd wait for the support zone of 1950, and see, this is exactly what I was mentioning, at the start, which is the likes of HDFC and in fact even ICICI for that matter have hit resistance levels, and could see some consolidation, and that's why perhaps the 50,000, 57,000 mark, even if it's hit, we might not sustain above that, in a very meaningful way. So yes, sideways consolidation is likely for HDFC Bank. Closer to the 1950, 1955 zones, it becomes a very interesting buy. And just to top of a couple of conversations, Brigade Enterprises and Oberoi Realty, these are two stocks that, if you get on further declines, should be added from the realty pack. And I think you had mentioned MCX as well. It's time to start taking money off the table from MCX as well as BSE. Very strong medium-term structures, momentum.
Did you go long at 6,500, Kush? You did, right?
For MCX, yes, we had a long call. MCX, we had a long call last year.
Kush.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But now it's starting to get overheated, risk-reward ratio not favorable. If you want to ride this wave, then as I've often suggested, do it with a trailing stop loss near the 7,400 mark on MCX and about 2,900, 2,850 on BSE. But don't initiate fresh long positions unless you see maybe 5-10% kind of declines, depending on the each stock and where the support zones come in.
Yeah, so by the way, Hyundai, okay, the 52-week high is 1984, so kind of did cross that sometime maybe earlier, but keep that at the back of your mind. I think the pocket that all three of us were talking about on Friday, right, and which is the capital market plays, are doing really well. It's the NSE Capital Market Index is the best performing index this morning. Maybe not an angel one, maybe not this, maybe the exchanges are at it. Maybe it is BSC, maybe it is some other brokers or wealth platforms like Nuvama or some others. I don't know what is taking it higher, but that index is doing very well for itself. Maybe the platforms are taking them higher. So bear that in mind. Nuvama too, 7,500, that's a superb rally. I think there's a brokerage note, I'm forgetting which said that the Nuvama target could be 9,400 or thereabouts. Maybe it was Morgan Stanley or Jefferies, one of the two. But the capital market index is doing very well. Parag bhai, anything in the capital market index? Because, it got punished rightly so when the markets came off, right? Now the activity is back. Do you like anything in this bucket?
So we have got 361 Wealth in that fall of February at around 930, 940 or so. That is one stock which I have, and I must say here that we have spoken too many things about luck. So I was basically I missed this entire play because I was not expecting such a fast rebound in the sentiments and all that. Although we bought Oberoi Realty and Arcades of the world, and by God's grace we have created significant alpha, but the capital marketplace we have just bought 361 and missed out the entire other things which were like MCX of the world or I would say any other broking or Nuvama's Wealth or we just bought 361.
Okay. Well, yeah, at some point of time, but this space looks so hot and the business might be so strong that some of these might continue to do well. So keep that in mind. I think it's the JM financial target is of 7,500 on Nuvama, but I distinctly remember Jefferies moving the target from maybe 1,800 to 9,400 or thereabouts. So bear that stock at the back of your mind as well. What else? Very quickly, from amongst the top movers in the session today, yes, we've highlighted, I think, the likes of Suzlon, etc. already. Adani Green, by the way, is up 1.35%. Adani Ports yesterday was 1470, which was the yearly high. So some of these stocks have not done too badly for themselves too. So bear that in mind. In today's session, a bit lower in trade for this. And the index too, by the way, has just quietened down a little bit, I must say. So nothing too dramatic. Kush, for the day, you gave the index call. I'm just wondering, would you take an intermediate short position?
I would be contradicting myself if I said, inaction is a good strategy in a market that is zooming higher. While, it may not be a bad idea, you'll have to be an extreme brave heart to do something like this.
And a brisk mover.
Yeah, absolutely. So my suggestion is if you have a long position, continue holding on. The index had a good run on Friday. You're seeing some follow through today as well. So it's not a bad idea to consolidate, sideways, at least for some time. So that's all that is happening. No major signs of worry. hold it with a trailing stop loss. That would be my suggestion on the Nifty, on the bank Nifty both.
In terms of specific stories this morning, Kush, quick rapid fire with you on MCure. Let's look at MCure Pharmaceuticals. Some of these news-based, of course, and that's why they're running. GMDC is the other one in focus because of this whole rare earth crisis. And yes, the street probably not looking at the fact that if you want to start actual potential rare earth supply from India, you'll need another 2-3 years, but these are the ones lining in. We talked about Hindustan Copper today. I want to look at Hindustan Zinc as well. Any of these stories that you're finding interesting on the charts?
So, Tamanna, I think an MCure is poised rather well. I remember, in fact, Neeraj put it on my radar in terms of, the big movers for the day, and that was about 15-20 sessions ago. Did rather well, has seen consolidation, is now starting the next leg of up move. So, it is actually very well poised to move higher, much higher, from the current level. So, 1445, 1500 also very much on the cards. The consolidation happened around the 1300 to 1360 band. So, about 1320 is where you can place your stop loss. That's been the closing low for the most part of the last 8-10 sessions. GMDC has been our call for the last 2 to 3 sessions. In fact, on Friday also, I think I mentioned this as the stock of the day. Has done well, but it's time to start booking profits on GMDC now. Has gone into overheated territories. At least partial profit booking makes sense on GMDC. You could continue holding on to the rest with a trailing stop loss around the 414 mark. But MCure for a fresh position does look rather nicely poised.
Okay. Parag bhai, the paints business, I wonder what's your call there now? A lot of conversation around competition, so on and so forth, etc. But is there value here in any of the paint companies?
See, at some point there will be some value. For example, it's a great business, but it has been any great business attracts a lot of competition. Right, any great business which market gives very high PE, it is seemingly very high ROE business, it attracts a lot of competition, right? So that is what has happened. So, but I have selected just with a disclaimer because it's a small cap stock. Please consult your financial advisor before buying, acting on it, and the stock has also rallied. So let me be cautious. But we have selected one stock which is called Multec Packaging, which is benefiting from this entire thing. But because they were already supplying to Asian and Bergers of the world, with Birla Opus coming in, their capacity utilization has further improved. Right, and plus they are now supplying to quality walls and FMCG companies of the world, and where the margins are double of what they make in paints. And now they are entering into pharma also, where they will break even in this year, and next year will be a big year. So I think that's a company where we feel that 25 to 30% EPS CAGR is possible due to operating leverage, and so 15% volume growth and margins expanding from 38 rupees per kg to 45 rupees per kg. So the stock has rallied 100 rupees in last few sessions. So I would just advise a caution. But this is a company which we have taken as a bet to play on the paint sector, which is actually benefiting from Birla Opus entry into the paint sector.
Yeah, well, actually, viewers, if you want, you can go onto our social media handles and you can search for the interview, because we interviewed Multec Packaging last week as well on our closing show, India Market Close. So there'll be some data that the company is given. It's a fairly extensive conversation. You can try and figure it out. Well, 1 week, 5% okay, but 1 month, it's a 33% up move, Kush.
That's what.
So Multec or any of the other paint companies as well, if you have a thought. We'll have one of the paint companies coming in shortly on the show.
So, Multec, it's time to start booking profits.
I'm going to hold on.
Profit booking.
I'm going to hold on.
I
think there's a difference. There's a trading
difference.
difference.
Absolutely. It's from a daily perspective. If I shift to weekly, I think there is a lot more room on the upside. So definitely. But you know what? This is what I realized, that when you start having this view on a lot of stocks, maybe the markets is telling you something. That's what I have realized. And sooner than later, it just tends to play out. So maybe small and mid-cap segment of the markets are perhaps due for a bit of a profit booking, a bit of a pullback rally. That's what the broad sense is. Even on Multec, that's the view. Among the paint stocks, nothing exciting. The only one that stands out is Berger, but I wouldn't add because there are a lot of pressures in the sector that we are seeing and has not really performed. So stick to sectors that are doing well. But if you must, then Berger is the stock that you want to look at.
Yeah, I just want to talk a bit about what's happening with Swiggy and Eternal and the news report that you pulled up, Neeraj. I'm actually surprised because I had a very detailed conversation with Rapido, with Pavan, who runs Rapido, and they are service providers to Swiggy and Eternal. And I had asked him about this because there were reports even then that, you know, do you want to get into food tech and you take on these big guys? And he said, I'm in the mobility business. And I continue to be in the mobility business. If it also works out that while, you know, my captains are driving their bikes, if they can deliver food, fine. But that is not my primary business. So I don't know, one way or the other. It's a huge cash burn space to be in. And I don't know if these guys want to plunge headlong.
Yeah, so okay, guys, Tamanna's caution is warranted also because this is newspaper reports. We don't have individual confirmation of Rapido having done this, so please bear that in mind. But it certainly have an impact on Swiggy, if not Zomato, in the session today. 3% lower on that one. Very quick thoughts, Parag bhai, before we thank you. Would you be a buyer into these companies, platform names?
No. This is out of my circle of competence. They might be doing a great job, and the people who are funding them might be knowing the business better than me.
Got it. Okay.
But again, I like wind, solar, this entire space also, it is out of my circle of competence. You ask me anything about banking and cement and so on and so forth.
So we've done that enough today, and we do more of that next Monday as well. But for now, gentlemen,
thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us. Really appreciate your time.